good traditional arrow build, I got you.
One of the first things we have to look at as it relates to our arrow build is that we're shooting a traditional bow, not a compound. I've seen a lot of people get into shooting lighter arrows because of the speed they can achieve out of the compound bows, and that's great and everything, but you're just not going to get those speeds out of a trad bow. So what we're going to be looking for is, in our build, certain aspects. So as it relates to fletching, I tend to use either 4-inch or 5-inch. These are some 5-inch ones that I have here, and most of these are 4-inch. Now you can go with a 3 fletch or something like a 4. From a stabilization standpoint, the 4 fletch is really great, but as far as accuracy goes, you really can't beat 3. Okay, especially if you start working like a helical setup on there, you're going to get really, really consistent flight out of your arrows. So when it comes to spine, it's going to be really dependent upon the type of bow you're shooting. So if you're shooting a bow that has more of a wide arrow pass, so if you're shooting offhand like I do, but has a wide arrow pass, I need an arrow with a little more flex, such as something like a 500 spine. However, if it has a narrow arrow pass, I'm looking for something that doesn't have quite as much, so I would use a 400. I tend to find out of your traditional bows, 400 and 500 is pretty much where you're going to need to be at. Okay, I know there's going to be different opinions on this. All of the experience I've had, whether it's shooting off of a rest, or if the bow has a shelf on it, or if I'm shooting offhand, 500 or 400 is going to be the way to go. Mostly if you have a shelf or a narrow arrow pass or a rest or something, 400 is going to be your way to go. Okay, or this one, yeah, this one here is a 400 here. If you want something that's going to have more flex to it, say you're shooting traditional longbow or a Turkish bow that has kind of a wider arrow pass at the riser, go with a 500 spine. So as it relates to arrow weight, there's a few things I'm going to be looking for. First thing is I want the weight of my arrow to be forward to center. So this arrow here is balanced right about at that center point. Okay? With a heavy forward to center arrow, my balance point is going to be forward of where that center would normally be at. Okay? That's what I'm looking for. That extra weight at the front is going to give it the necessary momentum to drive through that target. If you look at a lot of the literature from the Asbury Society as it relates to arrow penetration for big game hunting or game hunting in general, you find that a heavy forward to center is going to be the way to go. As far as arrow weight goes, it's going to depend on what you're hunting. For most of the things that people are hunting, 550 to around like the 600 grain area is going to be pretty good for you. All right. So again, all of that is going to be dependent upon what you're hunting. So know what you're hunting and go from there. Again, I would recommend Asbury Society literature to find out specific weights. Some of them are going to run on the heavier side, but you know, they're the OGs in this game. As it relates to the broadhead you're going to use, that is going to be dependent upon you. I will tell you my preference. My preference as it relates to the broadheads is I'm going to be looking for something that's either a 2-blade or something like a single bevel broadhead. Now my reasoning for that is penetration. I'm looking for the necessary penetration to hit the vitals and drive through the target. That is what I'm looking for. Now, a lot of people will use 3-blade and 4-blade broadheads because they want a larger wound channel and all of this. I've never had any issues having to find anything, and the guys I know that hunt with single bevels and 2 blades, they've never had any issues tracking anything down as far as like a blood trail goes with something like a 2-blade or single bevel. They got the necessary penetration they needed. So we have to remember, we're not running fast speed. So if your broadhead has more surface area, it's going to take more pressure and more speed for it to get the necessary cutting. If you don't understand edge geometry and blade geometry in general, you're probably going to think, well, more blades, it's going to cut more. No, it's going to slow it down. And we're already running a slow arrow. So We want to keep that arrow moving at a decent speed with the necessary momentum. I tend to find that single bevels and double blades are your way to go, best penetrators. If you want to go with wood arrows, I find that wood arrows do run a little bit quieter than carbon arrows out of traditional bows. That's just my experience, at least with the bamboo arrows that I make here. So they tend to run very, very quiet. You can tell a noticeable difference, but to each their own. So hope this helps you out.